your mics and cameras are switched off. They'll be switched on when all presenters have presented. And also you'll find the attendance register at the chat box. It is where you'll find the attendance register, wherein you'll fill in your names that you have attended the meeting. Yeah, colleagues, those are the two things that I just wanted to put through to you. Colleagues, without any waste of time, let me start firstly. This, if you can see, is our intermediate phase HOT virtual meeting. I hope all of us we are aware that it's an HOT meeting, nothing else. Prior to me moving on, I'd like to start by showing you our presentation outline. That is opening and welcome. I've done that already. Secondly, it's prayer. Thirdly, vision and mission of GDE. Fourthly, school visit findings and mitigations. Fifth item, term 3 assessment program. Sixth item, the DCES inputs. 7, question and answers. Lastly, it will be our closure, colleagues. Colleagues, without any waste of time, I would like firstly to allow us to take a moment of silence for us to pray before we can start with our meeting. Can we please close our eyes wherever we are so that no fly, nothing disturbs you while you're concentrating? Lord Almighty, grant our teachers wisdom to nurture and instruct those children you have given to them to teach. Lord, I call upon you to give them patience and a loving attitude towards those learners. Help them to take courage, help them to persevere, no matter how hard it is, and to remember that teaching is a calling. And may they always set an example of your love and care towards those children, Lord. We ask all this in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Amen, colleagues. You can open your eyes as long as the flight didn't disturb you. We go to our third item, vision and mission of GDE, colleagues. Colleagues, vision and mission of GDE, we'll always read it for you. And we expect all of you in our schools to have also your own vision and mission in your files. Our GDE vision and mission reads like this: every learner feels valued and inspired in our innovative education system. Our mission, we are committed to provide functional and modern schools that enable quality teaching and learning, to protect and promote the right of every learner to quality, equitable, and relevant education. My next item, colleagues, it will be these motivational words that I would like to read for you. And they need to be also be engraved into your minds and into your hearts. Colleagues, it reads like this: a winning team, we need to trust each other, respect each other, understand each other, and enjoy each other. A team that sweats together sticks together, colleagues. This is how we want to see you in schools, working as a team. There's no competition. Your school needs to work as a team for you to be productive and effective at all times. There's no number ones in schools. We are all the same. We need to work as a team. Ne? So this is one of the motivations that I needed to show you, to encourage you that you need to always work as a team, because if you work as a team, you'll always be winners in whatever challenges and situations that you're faced with. On my next slide here, it will be the school visits findings and the mitigations that you are going to hear. These school findings and mitigations will be rendered by Ng Marais. Prior to her rendering or attending to the school visits findings and mitigation, I would also like her, Mr. Sikuni, Kezani Sikuni, to kindly introduce her to you, colleagues, because you don't know Angie Marais. Mr. Sikuni, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Madam Mutaung, for this wonderful opportunity this afternoon. Allow me to take this opportunity to indicate that we highly appreciate the presence of our departmental heads today in this HOD meeting. Of course, let me just get straight to the request that the program director has requested me to do. Madam Angelique Marais, she's coming from Florida land, so she has been seconded to the district to assist us in English and Afrikaans. If you could recall very well, last term we had another colleague by the surname of Mr. Mo, who was also seconded to the district to assist in Afrikaans and maths, Afrikaans and English. And then this time around, we have Madam Marais, who is assisting us. So I'm going to request her to open up her microphone and a camera for the colleagues to see her. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, educators. Like Mr. Sikuni indicated, I'm Angelique Marais.
Madam Marais, if you can open up the camera.
It's open. It's open. Sure. Does it show?
Does it show?
No.
Yeah, it's open.
Okay. There we go. Must I introduce myself again?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Angelique Marais. Good afternoon, colleagues.
Back to you, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sikuni. Ms. Angie Marais, over to you to present your school findings and the mitigations thereof. Thank you. You can share your slide.
Okay, I'm going to start, colleagues. I would like to start off with Circular 38 of 2007. And then I would like to emphasize on 4.4.2. Okay, let me just go down. Okay, just go to the next slide, Mr. Sikune. Okay, I'm going to repeat myself again. I'm going to start off with Circular 38 of 2007. 4.4.2 states, all SMT members must ensure educators in their departments have the necessary documents. All SMT members must ensure educators in their departments have the necessary documents. Now I'm going to go to the challenges that subject advisors encounter in schools. I'm going to read through it. Just go back, sir, before okay, the first bullet says, content pages do not correlate with the district's monitoring tool. We find a few unnecessary documents in files. Teachers, normally we email our monitoring tool. Please see that your content pages have the necessary information on those pages in order to make our task easier. Then we're going to go to the next bullet, departmental documents, like your CAPS documents. We find that there's no CAPS documents, RATP, NPA, and the NPPBPR do not reflect in a few subject files. Next slide, Mr. Schooner. There's two very important circulars, Circular 1 of 2021 and Circular 13 of 2020. Those circulars must be in your subject files. And then I'm going to emphasize on this particular circular, Circular 38 of 2007. It is a very important circular for SMT members, and it speaks about school improvement strategies that we need to know. So please familiarize yourself with Circular 38 of 2007. Very important, we do find subject policies in the files, but it's still old. Subject policies need to be reviewed. There's no minutes of subject meetings. We have sent out a link, which we call a resource pack. Resources in the resource pack are not made available to educators, SMT. Departmental heads, they do not cascade very important information to subject educators, like the competitions that we have. And term schedules should be brought to the district by the departmental head. Next bullet. Just go back to that one, I skipped one. The departmental heads must take responsibility of heading the curriculum, even if the subject is taught by the principal of the school. We go to schools, we find that some principals teach like life skills and etc., but they're not clued up with the curriculum. Departmental heads must still take charge. Next slide, sir. Now I'm going to focus on school-based assessment challenges. On the school-based assessment challenges, we still find there's no cognitive grid. Pre and post moderation not effectively done. If I speak about not effectively done, we don't see any recommendations. We don't see any findings there. We don't see support there. All that we see is thank you for your submission. So please, we need to work on that, educators, HODs. Educators can make use of the sample cover page and marking grid provided by the district. Now, the district gave us a sample of a cover page that we can use with the cognitive grid, the marking grid, and the information that's needed on SBA. So please, let's make use of the sample cover page. No sufficient intervention activities are done. We've checked SBAs. When we look for intervention activities, there's no reflection of intervention activities. It should be done from term 1 throughout. Most teachers, they leave it for term 3. Departmental heads do not attend PLGs and PLCs. So how are you going to stay knowledgeable if you don't attend the PLG and PLC meetings? Next slide. Now, the heading states proposed solutions to challenges. Now, when it comes to files, teachers, you can make use of this proposed solutions. Cover page must have the necessary details. Name of school and subject, we find files. The file is there. You look for the teacher's name, you look for the grade, it's not there. Name of school must reflect educator's name and grade, very important, district, EMIS number, circuit, cluster, quintile, those things are important. And when we go to the index pages, this is proposed solutions. Index pages need to correlate with the monitoring tool of the district. Timetables must have the DAR period. We found that there's DAR period, but DAR period reflects every day. It's supposed to be 30 minutes per week. Necessary circulars, like we've indicated, and GDE documents, that's not negotiable. It must reflect in your file, in your subject file. School subject policies need to be reviewed. If there's no need to change anything, at least change the date. Subject meetings must be done monthly, according Circular 38 of 2007. Read Circular 38 of 2007, you will see it states there. And my question is also, how do we get information back to the school if there's no subject meetings? There's PLC meetings, there's PLG meetings. If you come back to the school, how do you share information if there's no subject meetings? Next bullet, files must be monitored regularly. Next slide, sir. Okay, that was for the files. Now we go to the SBAs. All assessment tasks must be thoroughly pre and post moderated, like I've said. Management plans, very important information. Management plans must cater for pre-moderation after content training in order for educators to apply the correct information received. So please look at your dates. When is your content training finished? And then you can give the teachers a few days after that to submit their SBAs, because I know with social science in different subjects, they have strict orders how to do it. Resource pack must be utilized by different subject educators. Some teachers are not aware that there's a resource pack with lesson plans. They still bother us. Please send me a lesson plan for this. Please, can I have that? Can I have that? It's in the resource pack. It's available. Cognitive level grid must reflect on SBAs. I still see that missing. Departmental heads must make sure that there is a fair distribution of cognitive levels. If I speak about fair distribution, your grade 6 question paper can't be easier than a grade 4 question paper, and a grade 4 question paper can't be more difficult. So HODs make sure that there's a fair distribution. Don't just take cognitive level grid available, but you didn't check it thoroughly. Next one, ensure that there's a marking grid for analysis purposes. How are you going to do your school improvement plan if you don't have a marking grid that can help you with your analysis? Next slide. Okay, so there I wrote, make use of the sample cover page for SBAs. Mr. Sukuni, can you just put that sample cover page on? Apologies for, okay, there it is. Can someone just give an indication if they can see it?
Yes, we can see
Teachers,
it.
can you see the cover page there? Okay, my colleagues indicated. Okay, so there's a sample of the cover page for a SBA. So teachers, HODs, let your educators make use of this, or if you don't like this structure, those necessary detail must be there. Let's just go down, sir. As you can see, there's instructions. As you can see, there's a cognitive grid. And at the bottom, you can also see the marking grid. Okay, next slide. I see there's a hint. Now we'll answer questions afterwards. Next slide. I'm almost done. Almost there. Okay, this is the last slide. For me, this is very important. I know we need to give teachers a workshop about interventions. Now, our vision states, all learners must feel valued and inspired. Now, sometimes we focus more on our doctors and on our engineers, and we neglect the children with the learning barriers. That's why educators, I emphasize, interventions must be done from term 1, not only in term 3. Now, the reason why from term 1, our aim is not only to get a good overall pass rate, but also to get a good quality subject average. Now, this is what I've done when I was in my class. Term 1, I let them write the test, and afterwards I've decided, okay, let me allow the learners to rewrite. They didn't make it. But then I discovered, but if I make everyone to rewrite, that can actually put my subject average up. And even the learners that pass the test very well, that will boost the subject average a little bit. So let's try to do this from term 1 in order to get a good subject average. Make use of a variety of intervention activities. Now, if I speak about a variety of intervention activities, I know in all subjects we get more than one test or SBA. Don't just make an intervention activity for the one. Do for the next task also in order to get a good quality subject average. And I would like to challenge teachers. It's priceless to see that learner that is struggling, the glow, the smile on his face when he see, yes, I can also accomplish if you give them intervention activities. So let's try to practice this. My last statement, let's just go back, Mr. Sakana. Intervention activities must reflect in teachers' subject files and also in learners' assessment books. So I am done with my presentation. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you, Ms. Marais, for your well-structured mitigations from our on-site support school visits that we conducted. We appreciate that a lot. We hope our
Director?
HODs.
Back to you.
We hope
Madam
our
Tau.
HOD. Oh, can I not be heard? Can you hear me? Colleagues, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Yeah, we hope our HODs will go back to schools and make sure that they action on those mitigations. Ne? Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we go to our next presentation. That is Term 3 Program of Assessment. It will be presented by Ms. Nontotria. Ms. Nontotria, over to you, ma'am. You can
Thank you,
share
Chair.
your slide.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, I'll share this side.
Good.
Colleagues, can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Nontobeko Tria, as Mem Taung has said. I will be presenting the program of assessment for Term 3 in the intermediate phase, starting with languages. We only have one assessment in the intermediate phase in Term 3 for all languages, and that is a project. It is divided into 3 sections, as you can see on the slide. Section 1 is a research, which is out of 10 marks. Section 2 is creative writing, which is equals to 30 marks. And section 3, which is oral presentation, is equal to 20 marks. Though the oral presentation will be done in term 3, the marks will be counted to term 4 oral assessment. It will be administered. The learners will do their oral presentation in term 3, but those marks will be carried over to term 4. I think that's clear. right? Let us move to the next subject, which is mathematics. In maths, grade 4, 5, and 6 will have 2 assessment tasks. That is task 5 and task 6. Task 5 in all 3 grades is a project with a minimum mark of 25. If we are saying minimum mark, we mean the teacher can go above 25 if he or she feels like doing so. Task 6 in all 3 grades is a written test which has a minimum mark of 25, and also in task 6, the educator can go beyond the minimum mark, which is 25 marks. Colleagues, as departmental heads, when you pre-moderate those question papers, as you can see on the screen, make it a point that all cognitive levels are covered by a question paper. That is, there is a mixture of low and higher order questions. 25% should be questions that are testing knowledge. 45% are questions that are talking to routine procedures. 20% complex procedures, and 10% should be problem-solving questions. The next subject is life skills. We all know that life skills is divided into 3 disciplines, and those are PSW, PET, and CAT, that is CAT. In grade 4, 5, and 6, learners will be assessed in all the 3 disciplines. In PSW, all grades will do an assignment, which is 30 marks. In PET, they will all do frequency of participation, which is 20 marks, and movement performance, which is 10 marks. In CAT, learners will be assessed on visual arts, which is equals to 40 marks, and the total mark in each grade is 100. The above mentioned assessment will apply to grade 4, 5, and 6. Now let's move to the next subject, which is social sciences. Social sciences also, it has 2 disciplines, that is history and geography. Among the columns, there is the column that says content to be assessed. If you count from your left, that is column number 1, 2, 3, 4. That column is prescribing the topic in which the content to be assessed will be coming from. In grade 4 in geography, they will, the learners will write a control test out of 25 marks. Still in grade 4, they will write, in history, they will write another control test, which is 25 marks. They will write a control test, which is also 25 marks, yes, all right. Now in grade 5, geography, they will do a project, which is 30 marks. And in history, they will write a control test, which is out of 30 marks. Grade 6 geography. Learners will write a control test, which is 40 marks. And in history, they will do a project, which is 40 marks as well. If we look at the screen, we look at the last column on our right. We have expected weightings per cognitive level. That is 30% low order, 50% middle order, and 20% high order, which means the question paper must adhere to all these cognitive levels. Now let's move to the next subject, which is NSN Tech. NSN Tech in grade 4, 5, and 6, learners will do 2 tasks per grade, which means grade 4 will do 2 tasks, grade 5, 2 tasks, and grade 6, 2 tasks as well. The first task in all 3 grades is a practical task, which is 15 marks. And it's up to the educator to decide on the practical task that he or she will administer, as long as that task forms part of Term 3 revised ATP content. The second task is a control test in grades 4, 5, and 6 with a minimum mark of 20. Educators must take note of Circular 1 of 2021 Annexure B, which states clearly that the test must come from the content that was taught in Term 3 only. The educator must not go back to Term 1, 2, and 3 and then mix the questions. No, but the questions for that control test must come from the work that was taught in Term 3 only. That is according to that Circular 1 of 2021 Annexure B. Colleagues, here ends my presentation. I thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kriya. Thank you for your presentation and your clear presentation. I hope assessment in schools will go accordingly. Nothing will confuse even the teachers themselves, because the HOD will go and report what was actually presented to them, as clear as it is. Ms. Kriya, can you remove your slide?
I'm trying to unshare.
Yeah, unshare.
I'm trying to unshare. I'm sure Mr. Skuni is starting to laugh at me by now.
Okay.
Right. I think it's removed now, Ms. Daung.
Yeah, it is. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Colleague, like I've just stated, thank you so much, Ms. Kriya. We are moving to our next item, that is our DCES inputs from our boss, one and only Mr. Kezani Sikuni. Mr. Sikuni, over to you. You can present your slide now. I'll remove mine if it's there also. You can share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director, for the opportunity once more again. Colleagues, good afternoon. Let me take this opportunity to thank the 2 colleagues who have just presented a few minutes ago. I hope colleagues have noted some of the important information that they cascaded. Right, without any further ado, let me get straight to my presentation in terms of what we have prepared as a unit, that what we felt it's important to be shared with our departmental heads. And we highly appreciate your presence this afternoon with us in this particular meeting. Right, moving right along, we are currently in the slide that speaks to the vision and the mission of the department. The intermediate phase team always works very diligently to ensure that all schools are supported. Our quality service that we render is aimed at ensuring that we attain the vision of the department to guarantee that every learner feels valued and inspired in our innovative education system. We want to take this golden opportunity this afternoon to invite you as departmental heads to team up with us to provide functional and modern schools that enable quality teaching and learning. So by so saying, we are indicating as a team that we subscribe to the vision and mission of the department. Right, moving right along, Program Director. The next slide I felt that it is important for me to highlight the two aspects that I believe as departmental heads, it's something that we need to possess or to have in order to be successful in our positions as heads of department. We are having two arrows that are representing management and leadership. So I believe that for us to be successful in our positions, we need not only to lean on one of the two, but both of them are very important in terms of making sure that in our positions we are successful. Everything in life is about offensive strategy and defensive strategy. So just like in a football game analogy, you know that you will have strikers, you will also have defenders. So it's not all about being offensive only. Sometimes you also have to defend to make sure that they don't score. So in terms of our responsibilities as HODs, we need to make sure that we have the combination of management and leadership in order for us to be offensive and also defensive at the same time to stand a chance of being successful in our positions. Leadership is an action of leading a group towards one common goal, of which I believe this is what we have, all of us, as we gathered today, this afternoon. And for us to be able to be called leaders, for us to have leadership, we should make sure that we possess important skills that are needed in a leader. For an example, communication. We need to be able to communicate. Now that we've gathered today here, there's information that is being cascaded to you. The next thing what is expected is that it must be communicated to the colleagues back in your schools, those that report to you. We need also to have another skill, which is motivation. We need also to be able to delegate. We must be creative and also take responsibility. So these are the skills that if you are a leader, you need to have them in order to be called a true leader. Then when it comes to the other aspect that I also made reference to, which is management, this is the process of dealing with or controlling things or people in terms of making sure that managers, they must plan, which means as we are here today, we'll be told about some of the important things that must happen in the term. So we need to make sure that the information influences our plans. So we can't just work without planning. So that is one of the important skills in terms of management. Then the next one, we need to be able to organize. So as managers, we need to be the people who are able to organize activities and make sure that those activities are being carried out. And lastly, we need to be able to coordinate. So those are some of the important skills that are needed in managers to make sure that they are successful in whatever they are doing. And to just add on what I've just indicated, it's not only limited to that. We need to have interpersonal skills. We need to be able to have problem solving, strategic thinking, and forward planning as HODs in order to stand a better chance of being successful in our jobs. Right, moving right along. The next slide, program director speaks to the GET slogan, which is about the hashtag number 1, and in terms of national and international assessments. And then the next one speaks to the 85%, which is the overall grade pass rate, which is expected to be attained by all the grades in the intermediate phase or in the GET band, which also includes foundation phase as well as senior phase. And then the last one, 55 average, that is what is expected to be attained as an average target for all the subjects, not only to say that that is where we need to raise our bars up to. It is acceptable for us to even perform or outdone the provincial target by making sure that we also obtain something which is going to be above that. So, but as the phase, we are being guided by these targets as and when we are supporting our schools to make sure that we achieve them. Right, moving right along. In slide 3, I have indicated that departmental heads are expected to plan. So in front of us now, we are having a plan in the form of a school calendar. So everything that we do is time-bound, HODs. It means we can't be found to be just doing things without having limitations in terms of when are we actually expected to complete this particular task. So this school calendar, it is a document which is important for us as departmental heads to have in order to guide our activities. Our activities for the term should be completed within a specific period of time. The school calendar is an important document which we need in order to influence our plans. So as departmental heads, we should plan our activities effectively and efficiently, and to make sure that we allocate adequate time to teach, assess, diagnose, and also remediate. So those are some of the things that when we have this school calendar, it should influence all these aspects in terms of when are they supposed to happen, because they cannot just happen haphazardly. They need to be confined to a specific period of time. So that is why we are indicating that it is important to have the school calendar. In term 3, we have 52 days, of which 17 of them have already passed. As of now or today, we are left with almost 35 days to complete all curriculum processes in our institutions. So it is very important, colleagues, that we always check as to how much time are we having in order to complete whatever has to be done in the term. We have to assess, we have to remediate, we have to do the submissions. All these activities must be allocated time. So if we're not allocating time to what we're doing, we'll be found wanting when some submissions have to be made, only to find that things are not in place. Right, moving right along, Program Director, the first speaker, Madam Mare, she made reference to this particular circular, which is Circular 38 of 2007, which speaks to the roles of SMT. I know very well that the colleagues who are seated or standing wherever you are today, you are all members of the SMT. So it is important that this particular circular, it is always being referred to in terms of reminding ourselves in terms of what is it that we need to do. It is indicated that we need to manage the activities of educators in the subject. So educators, they need to be guided in terms of what activities must they do, what should they engage on. But if that is not being applied, we will find that the delivery of curriculum in an institution get affected to an extent that the curriculum coverage is not attained as per the ATP. We need to monitor the progress of educators and provide support where required. So if colleagues are not sure of what to do, it is our responsibility as heads of department to make sure that we provide support and come up with constructive criticism. We need to build one another up. It's not about fault findings, but it's about developmental purpose in terms of when we are working with colleagues. Let's make sure that we conduct regular meetings with educators in the subject. Now that you are gathered today in this particular meeting, information is being shared. It is not supposed to be only limited to be known by yourselves. It was mentioned by the previous speaker that we need to make sure that information is cascaded. It is very disappointing that whenever PLGs or a forum like the one we are at today, information is being shared, but only to find that when we visit schools, you'll find that colleagues are not aware of some of the resources or some of the information, or not even aware of the fact that there's going to be a PLG on a specific day because information has never been shared. So that is what this particular circular is reminding us about when it comes to our responsibility to make sure that we cascade information, ensure that minutes of all meetings are kept. That is a positive evidence of showing that indeed there is life in this particular department. You cannot have a situation whereby in a department there has never been a single meeting for the entire term, but the districts have been in fact conducting different subjects, conducting PLG meetings and other types of meetings, but feedback is not being given back at schools whereby departmental meetings should be organized. So it is our responsibility to make sure that we organize meetings. So colleagues, this is just a reminder. I'm not going to speak to each and every bullet which is indicated in that particular circular. Safe for me to say is that let us always remind ourselves about this particular circular and also consult with it to check on some of the important aspects that we need to keep on doing in our departments in order for us to run them effectively. Right, moving right along. The next slide, Program Director, speaks to the management cycle. As you know, according to the curriculum management model, which was introduced in Gauteng some years ago, departmental heads are engines of delivery. In terms of curriculum, we consider departmental heads as the engines of curriculum delivery. So this is just a reminder to say, colleagues, as head of department, you are not just ordinary people in as far as curriculum is concerned. You are the engines of curriculum. So without you, nothing will happen. So don't underestimate your responsibility. So what is it that it's expected? It means that you are accountable to manage your department effectively and efficiently. You must report directly to the deputy principal about activities in your department. Namely, those activities could be about syllabus completion, SBA completion, and interventions. So that is what we report on. So as a departmental head, make sure that each and every month there is a report that you give in terms of what has happened in your department in terms of the example activities that I've just indicated now. As you are seated or standing wherever you are this afternoon, you can ask yourself a question to say, do I have records of how much content was covered in the subjects which I'm heading? Do you have an answer to that? Which subjects are behind in terms of content coverage? Is there time allocated for catch-up program? Are parents well informed about the progress of their learners? Do you facilitate communications between the school and parents? If your answer is no to the above questions, it is time now to take this giant step and get things right in your department. Moving right along. Now we are speaking to the management cycle, which is the one that I made reference to in the previous slide. And when we look at this management cycle, it is made up of the three aspects, not three aspects, but 5 steps. I'm going to look at them one by one. According to the curriculum management model, there are 5 steps of management cycle. The first step involves planning. We use the school calendar to develop other documents such as school year plan, school assessment plan, and the departmental management plan. So planning is very important. As you can see, it is right there on top in terms of the management cycle. This is associated with the curriculum management model that I indicated in the previous slide, that it was introduced in Gauteng some years back. So this is what will also be training some of the SMT from other schools in terms of the curriculum management. So planning is very important. Then as we move on, the next step speaks to monitoring of plans. Now that you have a plan, you need to see to it that those plans that you came up with, they are being monitored. Because if you don't monitor your plans, you'll find that you set and planned, but your plans have never been put in actions or into actions because they have never been monitored. So we need to monitor our plans. We need to monitor the administration of assessments. So if we have set ourselves dates on which assessments are going to be administered in our institutions, we need to monitor and see to it that indeed those assessments have been administered. If we have syllabus coverage that has to be achieved, let's monitor and check our colleagues to see to it that indeed they have covered the amount of work that has to be covered as per the ATP, as per the expectation. But if monitoring is not there, you'll only see as and when maybe it's time for assessments to be administered, but only a few topics have been taught. Because throughout you have been monitoring, you'll find that you are not aware of that. So monitoring as the second step is very important. And then the next one, it's also to make sure that we look at the analysis of results. We monitor as to our results being analyzed, and not only limited to being analyzed. What do we do with the analysis of the results? Are they influencing our future plans in terms of how we're going to teach our learners? So those are the things that we need to monitor. Thirdly, it is control. This is the step wherein you must control educators' files and learners' books. So we are aware that files must be checked. Currently, we are visiting schools. We are checking educators' files. The expectation is that as departmental heads, are we also making sure that we check our teachers' files, learners' books? Do we have the tools that are supposed to be used in order to do these particular activities? Do you have a template of monitoring teachers' file, learners' books? So control is very important in terms of the curriculum module as the third step that I've made a reference to when it comes to that what we need to check. Right? Then we need also to make sure that you give a written feedback in terms of whatever you will have checked from teachers. There should be a record of that particular feedback. As and when we visit schools, those tools must be readily available to indicate that teachers' files were checked on this day, learners' books were checked on this day. This is what is happening. So if we don't have written feedback, we can't work by word of mouth. It should be something that is written in black and white. The fourth step involves support and development. I've made reference to support in the previous slides to say that based on the findings of your monitoring, there could be areas wherein teachers could need to be supported and developed. Are we supporting them? Are we developing them? Even ourselves as district officials, when we visit schools, the main purpose is not only to monitor, but it is to support. So that is what we expect from colleagues as in departmental heads when it comes to what they need to do when it comes to teachers at the school. Let's make sure that we develop our teachers based on our findings. But if we are not checking, if we are not monitoring, there's no support or development that will happen because nothing has happened. Let's make sure that sometimes if there is a need for provision of certain resources to enhance teaching and learning, those resources are made available. If it means that a workshop should be conducted in terms of a particular content of a certain subject, let it happen. If it means the procurement of certain textbooks or teaching aids, let that happen. So that is what support is all about. That is what development is all about. And lastly, it's about accountability, which involves writing of reports. So which means after having conducted all the activities, it is expected that there should be a report that departmental heads develop monthly and report on all those activities to the deputy principal in terms of what is happening. Even ourselves, when we visit schools, we compile a report which on weekly basis we have to send to our principals in terms of informing them of the status quo in our schools, our findings and our recommendations. Right, moving right along. The next one speaks to the departmental heads' responsibilities at schools as per the curriculum management models. Okay, some of the pointers I've already mentioned to, in the previous slide. It's just a matter of putting more emphasis on that. Check the preparedness of the teacher in order to deliver the lesson as per syllabus. And how often should that be happening? On weekly basis. Report on progress towards the syllabus, work schedule in the subjects being managed on monthly basis to the deputy principal. Monitor the implementation of subject assessment plans. Track learner performance and ensure remediation. We don't have to assess and keep on assessing without tracking the learner performance, and where necessary, let's effect remediation in order to assist struggling learners. Let's ensure that internal moderation processes are taking place in terms of assessments that are being administered in our schools. And we make sure that we monitor a sample of learner workbooks and homework to validate against syllabus, and also to make sure that we conduct subject meetings to provide direction to teachers. Those are some of the aspects that when we speak about the curriculum management model, we need to make reference to. Right, moving right along, in terms of the aspects that we need to have as part of our tools as managers, as head of departments, we need to make sure that we have the school year plan, the HOD management plan, educator profiles. Be aware of the qualifications of your teachers in the department in order to allocate relevant human resource in the relevant subjects. Because if we are not aware of that, we will find that teachers are allocated subjects wherein they are not going to perform efficiently. Let's make sure that we have a document that speaks to the workload. Let's have school assessment plans, subject policy documents, NSC documents, inventory list, departmental circulars, curriculum coverage tools, subject improvement plans. These are very important tools or documents that HODs should have in their disposal in order to be successful in their positions. When we visit schools, when it comes to the HOD file, these are the expectations in terms of that what HODs should have in order to manage their departments effectively. Right, moving right along. Now, I'm in a slide that speaks to the performance of learners in term 2 in the intermediate phase. Before I can go any further, let me take this opportunity to thank you as departmental heads for ensuring that schedules are submitted and also making sure that you upload all the necessary documents to our Google Drive folders, and also ensured that you capture the pass rate, composite stats, and the performance of progress learners in our collaborative spreadsheets, which are located in the Google Drive. For that, we thank you very much, because without your assistance, we wouldn't be able to submit the information which is expected to be submitted to head office. Allow me also to indicate that I will be failing in my duty if I don't extend words of gratitude to my colleagues for having also ran with the process of ratifying the very same schedules that HODs have submitted, assessment officials for compiling and collation of stats. So together as a team, we have managed to achieve 100% in terms of the submission of learner performance stats. Allow me to indicate that At the district, we have different units that are also doing the very same process. We're very proud as a phase to be counted as the first unit to have 100% submission from schools before others can even complete the process. And this wouldn't have been possible had it not been of your support as departmental heads. So for that, we want to heartily want to thank you for that. So it is highly appreciated that we have these results. Right? Let me get to this slide in front of us. In grade 4, when you look at the performance there, we have the 85% that I spoke about when I started in the GET slogan, that this is the benchmark that all grades in the intermediate phase or in the GET band are expected to achieve. So when we look at this, you can see that this is the performance which is indicated here. So in terms of grade 4, we are seated at 79%, which is below the provincial target of 85%. We still have to work very hard there when it comes to the overall grade performance. So in grade 4, in term 1, when we compare it with term 2, you will see that in term 1, we were seated at 76. Now we're at 79. We have registered a 3% improvement, of which we're very grateful of that, right? And with that, we're still below the provincial target with almost 6%, right? Moving right along, in grade 5, in term 1, we were at 74%. Then in term 2, as you can see, colleagues here, we are at 80%. So again, here we are happy to indicate that we have registered an improvement that you can see in front of yourselves there, which is a 6% improvement. So we are happy about that. Right. Moving right along, when we look at the next grade, which is grade 6, allow me to indicate that even in grade 5, we have never registered the target, which is 85%. We are below that. But we believe that as time goes by, we're going to work harder with your support to make sure that that improvement is effected. Right, moving right along, in grade 6, we can see that in term 1, we're at 76%, and in term 2, which is the last term, we moved to 84%, which is an improvement that we are proud to have, because it's almost 8% increase in terms of when we compare ourselves from the previous term 1. Right, moving right along. The next slide speaks to term 2 2022 versus term 2 2021 performance. The current slide indicates the comparative performance of 2022 cohort of learners with those we had last year. The time charts are representing 2022 overall grade results, and the donuts charts are indicating term 2 in 2021. We have observed an improvement across all the grades in the intermediate phase. Grade 4 has registered an improvement of 3%, as you can see, having moved from here in 2021 to 79%, indicated by the time chart, is an improvement of 3%. Right? Grade 5 has increased its performance by 2%, as you can see, from 78 to 80% in terms of term 2. We are comparing term 2 last year and term 2 this year. This is what we expect schools to do in your institutions there, departmental heads. Let's make sure that we compare our performances from previous years to current and also previous terms to see to it that improvement is there, so that if there is no improvement, we come up with interventions that are going to enable us to improve on the performance. And lastly, grade 6 has shown an increase of 2%. Okay, we have moved from 82 in 2022, in 2021, term 2 to 84, as indicated by the time chart here. Thank you very much. Let's move right along. The next one. This is a slide which reflects the performance of learners who have progressed at the end of 2021 academic year. These are the learners who have progressed due to different reasons, namely number of years in the phase, age cohort, condonation of mathematics marks, and mark adjustment. The status of performance is represented in percentages format, as indicated by the pyramid charts that you are seeing in the screen. These are the percentages that I'm talking about. Here we have our pyramid charts. They are indicating the performance of progressed learners. We need to join hands in an effort to ensure that greater percentage of these learners meet the pass requirements per phase or per grade. So basically, this is what it means. In grade 4, out of the 397 progressed learners, only 73 of them have passed in terms of last term, which accounts for 18%. Then in grade 5, 688 progressed learners, and then in term 2 this year, only 255 of them met the pass requirements, which accounts to the 37% that you see here. And lastly, in grade 6, out of the 805 progressed learners who came from grade 6, in term 2 this year, only 331 learners met the pass requirement, which accounts for the 41% that you are seeing on the screen. So we can ask ourselves questions to say, is this policy of progressing learners because of different reasons benefiting them or not? So that is an answer that we can answer on our own, but let's make sure that we support these learners. These are more like learners at risk. They deserve to be supported. Right? Moving right along. In this particular slide, we are talking about 2022 second performance. As the intermediate phase, we also ensure that as and when we have received the stats, we analyze the performance, which is also linked to each and every individual circuit, also based in the grades that we are having. So what we are having in front of us, these are the flag charts that you have. They are indicating the performance of different circuits, 6 circuits in our district, in each and every grade. In grade 4, just to summarize, all circuits have performed below the provincial target of 85%, as you can see for yourself. There is no circuit in grade 4 that is having a percentage which is above 85%. So that is grade 4, which is here, as you can see. Moving right along to the right, the flag charts are again indicating the performance of circuit 1 to 6 in terms of grade 5. And then once more again, just as it was reflected by our overall grade performance, even in grade 5, we have performed below the provincial target because there's no grade which is above the 85%. Then lastly, in grade 6, the flag charts are indicating that we only have 2 circuits that performed above the provincial target, and those are circuit 5, and it's supposed to be circuit 5 and 6 because they are sitting at 85%. So that is basically the performance of circuits in terms of term 2. Right, moving right along, still on the issue of targets, because that is what we are guided about. These are the objectives that we need to achieve whenever we support schools. And this is what we expect schools also to make sure that they channel all their resources, all their efforts towards making sure that they achieve the targets. In terms of our exit grade, of which is grade 6, we are expected that we should at least, in terms of languages, we should have 80% of learners performing from 50% and above. And that is what the medium-term strategic framework document indicate. That is what the MTSF stands for. And also the document called Annual Performance Plan. This is what the APP stands for. So these are national documents in terms of the expectations. So in grade 6 again, when it comes to maths, the expectation is that we need to have 58% of learners performing from 50% and above. Okay, let's look at how we have performed as the intermediate phase in Johannesburg Central. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank you as departmental heads, because you have assisted us to make sure that we surpassed the national target by almost 11%, because we are seated at 91% of learners having performed from 50% and above in languages. So what we have done is to take the performance of all languages, regardless of whether it is at FAL level or HL. So this is what we've achieved. So let's applaud ourselves for this particular achievement that has surpassed the national target. Then when it comes to mathematics, like I've indicated that we're expected to pass 58% of learners passing from 50% and above. And as the intermediate phase, we have 72% of learners having achieved from 50% and above. So again, in mathematics, we have outdone the provincial or the national target by almost 14%, which is a wonderful achievement, which I think we need to celebrate as departmental heads together with the phase. So let us work together in term 3 to ensure that we maintain these good performance. We have set ourselves a standard. We cannot afford to let it go down. Let's make sure that we sustain this good performance. Right, moving right along. The next slide speaks to school subject performance versus the target. So in this particular slide, what we have done is to look into our 3 grades in terms of all the subjects to see as to how did we perform. So I'm not going to go to each and every subject, but I'm just going to highlight, I believe you're going to read for yourselves in terms of the other subjects that I will not have mentioned. But let me go straight to the languages. Here, we're speaking about grade 4, all FAL languages. The expectation is that 100% of learners must pass, which means all of them must pass. Even in HL, all of them must pass because the expectation is 100%. But here, the numbers that you are seeing here, they speak to the number of schools that have achieved and not achieved in terms of the subject. So as I've just indicated the FAL, 42 schools have obtained the 100%, which means everybody has managed to pass in terms of the learners. And then 137 schools have never achieved, okay? And the 89%, this is the subject pass rate which was achieved, the overall pass rate of this particular subject as FAL in the district, okay? So all these numbers, they speak to the number of schools that have achieved against those that didn't achieve, right? Let me go to maths. Maths in grade 4, this is what we are having here. 100 of them, 100 schools, okay? Not learners, 100 schools have achieved, and then 58 didn't achieve in terms of this 90% pass rate, which is expected, okay? So in fact, they have reached the mark because the target here is 90%. So even when it comes to other subjects that you are seeing here we're talking to the number of schools. The subject target is 95. Then these are number of schools that have achieved the 95%, and these are the number of schools that didn't achieve the 95%. And this is the percentage pass rate of all these subjects in grade 4. So like I have indicated, colleagues, I'm not going to read each and every subject. You're going to receive this slide. You're going to make sense to what was the achievement in terms of the number of schools that have achieved the target in terms of that particular subject. Right? Moving right along, that was grade 5. The similar pattern it's happening. As you can see, in terms of the languages, we need to work very hard because the expectation here is that all learners must pass. Then moving right along, when we look at grade 6, the same indication is continuing in terms of the number of schools that have achieved against those that didn't achieve. And these are the pass rates that have been achieved by the subjects based on term 2 results. So you can see the number of schools that have achieved and those that didn't achieve. We still have to work very hard as a team together with yourselves as departmental heads to make sure that we raise all the numbers of schools that achieve the provincial target. We should have at least the lowest number should be from those that didn't achieve. We shouldn't have a situation whereby the NAs, they are above the A's because of not having achieved. Right, moving right along, the next slide speaks to the curriculum coverage. Again, let me take this opportunity to thank colleagues for having populated the percentages in terms of what has been achieved by you as institutions in different subjects. So here we've just sampled grade 6, but the information has been received from all the grades. We need also to indicate, as much as the percentage of schools that have captured the information in the Google Drive is high, we still have a limited few colleagues who haven't populated the information. So I just want to take this opportunity to also request those schools to make sure that as and when this information is needed towards the end of the term, if you haven't populated in term 1 and 2, it means the expectation is that when you populate for term 3, you will have to populate also for the other 2 terms that you haven't done so. Right, so basically when we look at the information here, after we have received the information that you populated, we had to add up all the percentages and come up with an average. So basically in grade 6, these were the averages in terms of what has been achieved when it comes to curriculum coverage. Remember, it was supposed to be out of 50. So the majority of subjects were sitting at 48%, which means there is a variance of 2% out of 50. And that translates to different content gaps or learning deficit that has happened in different schools. So it is our responsibility as HODs to zoom into what could have led to a situation whereby as a school, we were not able to cover everything. And do we make time available in the next coming term to make sure that that what has not been covered, we make provision for that particular content to be covered. So this is what we have submitted to the province. So thank you very much for having given us this particular information. Right, moving right along. In this particular slide, we now speak to the strategy that we have as the intermediate phase when it comes to how we support you as departmental heads and teachers in our institutions. We have developed a unit resource link, which we are continuing to make sure that it is being used. And when you go to that particular link, that is wherein you'll be assisted or you'll be able to access the information that has been listed there. Amongst other things, we include subject meeting presentations, lesson plans, and other resources that have been listed, of which I'm not going to read from one to the other. As they are listed in those bullets, that is what you can find as and when you receive or use our link. We always post the link in our platform of the HOD in terms of WhatsApp, so it is easily accessible. Those of us who are in the group, I believe we are not hearing this message for the first time. And I must indicate that there's been a popular demand of people to be included in the group. Most unfortunately, the program or the application itself has a limitation in terms of number, but from the requests that we have received so far, we have managed to include those that requested. So what we would want to request is that as and when we know of somebody who may have been promoted or retired and the person is in the group, we can be informed about that so that we can create space for others who still want to be in this platform. Right, moving right along. The next one still continues to speak to the strategy that we have as the intermediate phase to support our teachers in terms of term 3. We have PLGs that are taking place in different subjects. And in those PLGs, we discuss and mediate some of the listed aspects that you can see there. We are happy to have made an observation that unlike in the past, whereby you would find most of colleagues indicating not to be knowing about our meetings, this time around, the information has been cascaded. And having said so, it doesn't mean that there are no colleagues that come with claims of not having known about this, but we want to take this opportunity to say, let's make sure that we keep ourselves posted, informed by attending our PLGs, because that is wherein we share subject expectations and targets, lesson planning and preparation, classroom discipline, subject resources, and many more as indicated in this particular slide. So when you become part and parcel of our PLGs, you will be kept posted and you'll be making sure that you keep your colleagues in your department well up to date in terms of the latest information in education instead of being left behind. Right? As we move on, continuing with that, we make sure that as and when we visit schools, we need to see to it that schools are incorporating the DAR activity into the school's timetable. Not only seeing it appearing there, it should be implemented. At least 30 minutes per week should be allocated in terms of DAR activities, not limited to languages. All the other subjects should have a situation whereby they incorporate this. Our mass-based programs that we have come up with, languages have been doing spelling, reading, public speaking, and competitions. I must take this opportunity to thank the colleagues for having run with these activities. I remember last week in terms of Sesotho languages were at Londo, and some learners were brought there. They took part in our activities. We highly appreciate that. The science fair, it's another activity which is happening, and we're still going to be having our district and the provincial activities. We want to thank colleagues for making sure that they make time available to participate and make sure that learners are engaged in these activities, because they are not all about teachers, they are also about learners. We have district subject Olympiads, Sbas, online English learning, which is co-health, and the others that are represented there. Those are some of the strategies that we have as the intermediate phase to make sure that we support our schools. Right, moving right along. The next slide speaks now about the activities in terms of term 3. These are the activities that we have planned to carry out in term 3. As I've mentioned, that planning is very important, and we have made sure that we communicate our plans to you so that you also inform your own activities based on our plans. So as departmental heads, we need to take a lead in terms of cascading the information, sharing the resources, ensure that activities that need active participation of teachers, we realize that because you are able to cascade this information, right? In terms of assessment, if I can just zoom into some of the activities, we are going to be having the possible retentions. which is going to take place from the 5th to the 7th of September, is a very important activity. In the set support meetings that we have conducted for all our circuits, we have indicated that there is going to be a special meeting which will be conducted to address that. And then in terms of provincial moderation, last term there were schools which were sampled to submit certain tasks for pre-moderation, and this time around is going to be post-moderation. So those activities are going to be happening, and we expect schools to take part in them. Right? In terms of maths, if I may just zoom into the district Olympiad, we have conducted our district Olympiad after we started with our cluster. We want to take this opportunity to thank colleagues and the learners for taking part in these activities. And then again, we will be failing in our responsibilities if we don't thank schools that have assisted in terms of the provision of the venue to conduct this. In this case, I want to take this opportunity to thank Park Primary School for having hosted us in terms of the Mathematics Olympiad. Of course, on the day we had some technical glitches in terms of load shedding, but the school has gone overboard to make sure that they organized even a generator for our learners because they needed to use gadgets, and that was successful. We highly appreciate the support that the school has offered to us as the intermediate phase, and also HODs having made sure that learners take part in those, right? So those are some of the activities that we are having, as you can see them, and the dates. So colleagues, I'm not going to speak to each and every activity and the date. I'm just going to highlight some of them. These activities, you have received them in our management plan. You're still going to receive them from our presentation. In social sciences, we have had our cluster Olympiad on the 28th of July. We're still going to continue to have other activities. Some of them we have conducted them last week in terms of the content discussion. Right, moving right along. Now we are continuing with the activities for term 3 that we have as the intermediate phase for you as our institutions, right? In terms of natural sciences, on the 1st of August, we had our district Olympiad taking place at Robert Shem Primary. Once more, just like I did with the previous school, I want to take this opportunity to thank Robert Shem Primary School for having hosted us in terms of this district Olympiad. And we want also to thank colleagues, as in teachers, HODs, who have organized learners and make sure that they take part in these particular activities. And our PLGs, they have already taken place on those dates indicated there. And then on the 17th, not so long ago, there was a message in the WhatsApp group of HOD wherein the colleague was indicating that on the 17th we'll be having our district science fair. Again, colleagues, your maximum participation will be highly appreciated. So those are some of the activities that we have. In English and Afrikaans, we have had the project mediation, which is very important. Most of the colleagues attended that particular meeting. We have also conducted the district spelling competition, spelling bee, on the 28th of July. I believe it was conducted at St. Ives, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I would want to take this opportunity to thank the school for having hosted us, and we had a successful activity there. Then the other activities in terms of English are the ones that you are seeing on the screen, together with the dates on which they are going to take place. I'm not going to talk to each one of them in the best interest of time. Right? Moving right along, still with activities, I've made mention of Triple S. As you can see, we have had our PLC leaders meeting on that day. I've made mention of the spellathon and reading competition, which took place at Ndondo last week. Madam Ramashala was responsible for that. Then in terms of the other activities, there we're still going to have the submission of curriculum report on the 26th to the 28th of September. and then the HOD forum meets, the one that we are at today. Then the syllabi coverage, these are activities that are involving the entire unit. We're going to have them on the date indicated there, just like we have indicated in the past term. We'll be expecting schools to submit their educator reporting tools prior our visit so that we go through the information that they have covered to save on time as and when we'll be there. Then when it comes to life skills, we're going to have our PLGs on the 11th, and that one has been cancelled. I think it was supposed to take place today, but in fact, all the SECHETs are going to be bundled together on the 15th of August in terms of the PLG. Right, moving right along, we're going to have the assessment for learning. This one that I'm missing. I think we're also going to have the PLG in terms of Nguni languages. It's just that I can't locate it now here, but I think it is also in the management plan in terms of when is it actually going to take place. Here it is, okay? On the 18th of August, we're going to have our Nguni languages PLG. And then the other thing that I need to mention in terms of the next slide is the fact that there were some activities that came from the province wherein it was indicated that we are going to have assessment for learning training, which is intended for the head of departments. We have, as a phase, made a Google form available to schools in order for HODs to populate their information, and then of which majority of the schools have responded positively. Out of the 29 schools which were sampled, 116 of them completed the form. We are only left with 13 schools that are still outstanding. And then we're not sure as to when are the colleagues going to populate the information, because we've been constantly reminding them to do that. And in terms of how far is that particular activity going to be taking place, we're still waiting for an indication from the province in terms of when actually are they going to start, because it indicates from the 4th to the 30th of August, which means in between that particular activity is going to take place. Then subsequent to that, we also received another memo that spoke about the training of the heads of department again from our 3, if not 4 full service schools, which is set to be going to take place on the 29th to the 30th of August. Again, this kind of training, it seems to be the same as that one. It is the assessment for learning training. So we haven't received any latest in terms of changes or whatever information, but in case we receive something, we're going to make sure that we cascade the information to the colleagues in order for you to be able to act on the information. Chairperson, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think I have reached the end of my presentation. Back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sikuni. Thank you for your well-presented, structured input. Indeed, our HODs are the engine of the curriculum. Without them, there's no curriculum. They actually have to note that and to know that. And I hope they've taken everything that you have said into cognizance, and they'll make sure that all those inputs are taken note of and are implemented and actioned on in all different schools around the Johannesburg Central District. Colleagues, without any waste of time, this is my next slide on the code. I hope it's visible. It says the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new, by Socrates, colleagues. I don't want to waste your time anymore, colleagues. Now is the time for questions and answers. I think our DCS, Mr. Sikuni, will now unmute some of you, but will show us by a show of hands on your emoji that you want to ask a question, clarity-seeking questions, and then we'll note your hand and note you accordingly and call you accordingly, according to how you have, who started to raise their hands first. So it's time for the questions and answers, colleagues. Over to you.